evening. Welcome to the Active program right here on the Chicken Solution. Yes, the Activate program is a youth program happening right here on Dominant Chicken FM. The 6 inspire change among the youth of Ghana. My name is Activity Sarahama, your host. Yeah, Activate. It is a very beautiful Sunday evening. I just want to say another good evening to you all, and also to remind you that COVID-19 cases are increasing every day. So we should keep wearing our nose. If you're watching us live on Facebook, you can see that everyone here in the studio today is wearing a nose mask, including myself. So ensure that you wear your nose mask wherever you're going. And let's not forget about the hand washing. Ensure you wash it under running water with soap, with plenty water. If you can't afford this hand sanitizer, hand washing is okay. Just make sure you do it in the right way. Last week we had an interesting discussion on education. A very interesting one, of course. We actually learned a lot. It was on International Day of Education. But before I come to actually take you back so that we can look at what actually happened last week, I just want to remind you that education plays a very important role in everyone's life. It is the reason even today, in these critical times, people are doing everything possible. Mr. Donald is here. Ajia Hafsa Seisumani is here. Just to ensure that people are educated in the right way. So education is very, very, very important. But last week also we made mention some things that I just want to remind you about. COVID-19 has really caused a devastating toll on education globally. But because we are in Ghana, let me say in Ghana, it's the first ever. I mean, this is the greatest distraction on our education in history. This is unprecedented, and that means a lot of work is needed to be done to ensure that if not back to where we were, because even us where we were before the pandemic was also not where we wanted to be, but the pandemic came and worsened everything. I think last week I gave you some data that showed that COVID-19 has actually caused a lot of destruction to our education. So before COVID-19, we had 250 million who were already out of school. We had 387 million, that represents 56%, who were estimated to lack reading skills. And after COVID-19, there has been a greater increase in these numbers. I don't know where we are now. My guests will help us discover, even though we were able to discover a little last week. We're just having a continuation of the discussion today. Still on the International Day of Education, on the theme recovering and revitalizing education in the COVID-19 generation, right? Yeah, so that's what we're doing today. But I won't want to bore by making my guests go through. I mean, we're going to go through the history again. So I just want to remind you that International Day of Education is a resolution that was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on the 3rd of December in 2018. So just 2 years ago, that was proclaiming 24th of January as International Day of Education. I think that was last week. But because we have so much information, so much to still discuss when it comes to education, especially this period, we are continuing our discussion to see if we can be able to digest, if not everything, but so much of what needs to be talked about so that people can listen and a lot of change will happen. So once again, it's still the Activate program today. I have in the studio with me Mr. Donald. He is the PRO for GES, Ghana Education Service Northern Region. Mr. Donald, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm on Hajia Hafsa Seisumani. She was here last week. She gave us a really, really interesting discussion. So I hope you are expecting fire here today. I mean, but in all, there should be some action. Like I tell you always, let's ensure that whatever we take here, we act upon it. If you don't act, I mean, whatever we talk about here is useless. So actions Action, action, action. Let's act. So welcome to the studio once again. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you.
Mr. Donald, it's the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just is there anything you want to tell us in relation to education during this period? Generally, anything you want to tell us before we start our program?
Yeah, you have highlighted the challenges that we are going through at this moment, especially that the COVID that landed in our church, and then it resulted in the closure of schools somewhere last year, precisely 20th March 2020. And then the lessons, in fact, the devastating toll is so overwhelming. And then we in GS see it as a challenge. We think that we should not give up. We should not just throw our hands in despair. So we are doing all that we can to make sure that the children come back to school. As we speak, we know a lot of them, especially girls, are unable to come back to school. First of all, when the final year BEC student came back to write, somewhere in August thereabout, we recorded over 1,400 students absenting themselves. And out of the number, over 700 were girls. And when we did our further checks, it revealed that 221 girls from the 3 northern regions couldn't turn up to write due to pregnancies. Okay. Then 133 of them, 133 girls young girls came to school to write the exam with pregnancies. Actually, let me stress that pregnancy does not bar a student from writing exam. And we felt that this 221. And I'm sure the number could be far higher than that. Okay. But we just felt that we needed to do much education so that they will come. And then moving forward, we also realized that 96 young mothers came with children to write the exams. Okay. So it became a big challenge for us, and we have decided that we need to do a lot of work to ensure that the children come back to school. Because we had the indication during the series of the update that our President, His Excellency Nanado, made along the way. I'm not told that there will be one this evening. Yeah. So it was clear that schools were going to be open in January. But we GES didn't fold our arms waiting to say, oh, because we took lessons from the BEC, and the BEC, they only stayed home for like 4 months. But here we are looking about close to a year. So we know that. So what we had to do was, even though they were, even before the final year was the student came back, there were disinfections, there were distribution of PPEs such as Veronica buckets, washing liquid soap, tissue paper, face masks, and sanitizers. It's okay. But we also decided that there will be a challenge because a lot more children were not likely to come back to school due to several factors, not living out pregnancies. So we had to first of all engage in back to school campaign, national back to school campaign. We started from the national level, then we came down to the regional level, moved to the district level, and we even went to the community level to educate the parents and engage them to ensure that all the children, first of all, we're saying that apart from pregnancy, some of the children were given out to trade. Okay. Yes, they were doing some mini trading and things, and bringing income to the families. Are you getting? And you know our poverty levels. Then some were given out as apprentices, because if you will not go to school, if schools are not opening, then you go and learn how to plait hair, go to learn how to do dressmaking and things. Now the question is, how were the parents going to remove the children from whatever they were doing back to school? But it was necessary.
Okay.
So these were some of the things that we did, and I'm sure through the discussion, I will.
Yeah, but I just want to. I have probably a question on that in relation to distribution of some PPEs to school. How is that distribution done? Because I still hear a lot of complaints, and actually, when you pay visits to some schools around you, how was it distributed?
Yeah, first of all, Rahana, what is happening is that, again, our president in his series of updates made nose mask or face mask wearing mandatory. Okay. So yes, there was a forum. Somebody told me some parents cannot afford face masks. It's okay, but the ignorance of the law is not an excuse. But then government acknowledging that we had to do our part. Started with the distribution when the WASI students came to write. Then when the GSS students also came to write, they were thinking, and some are reusable. I mean, some are consumable, some do not. Some do not. You can't. Veronica bucket, for instance, if a school has a Veronica bucket, it's just that you need to add more, because we are now looking at a whole number of people, because GSS only final years came. But this time where all the students have come. So
you're looking at adding up?
Yes. Okay. And then I can tell you, before I came to studios, I had to make my checks. Okay. And not in the region. And I'm sure I can't sit here to say there are no challenges. But because some of these things do not just take place in a day. Because somebody had to go through the process to produce the masks, and it has to take time. But I'm not just giving an excuse for that. We should have, yes, we had planned ahead of time, but sometimes you have the, but I can say.
So you're going to work on that?
Yes, so. No, I can even say as we speak, so Anargu and Tamale Metro have received nose masks. But the sanitizers, the tissues and liquid soaps were already distributed. The only challenge was face masks. And I can say that as we speak, and I'm sure they are monitoring places where the populations are high and the rest. So sometimes when the distribution is centered in Accra, as we speak, we will understand, because that is where, but we are not saying that is the best. But the PPEs are coming around. Yeah.
Okay. We hope very soon that the work will be done and every student will have access to that.
But parents should also try.
Yeah, but I just heard you say that some parents are not able to, especially those people from the rural communities. So it is still necessary.
Not necessarily the rural community, but we admit that our poverty level sometimes. But at least with no smarts, we should be able to do. Because you see, basic education is free. Okay. But we can't say it's free entirely, because government don't feed the children. And in some cases, parents have to wear dresses. So are we saying the children should go to school naked because we are poor? I get it. So some of these things, nose masks, should be something that parents should be able to buy.
So there should be some kind of sacrifice from the side of parents. Okay, thank you very much. But we're still hoping that
a lot. Government has promised to give every student 2 nose masks.
Yeah, I saw something on that. Yeah, they didn't even say they were to give. They said they had already given. Okay. Yeah, so I think we are expecting that very soon something done about that. Aja, in relation to students not going back, I think last week we spoke on that. But Mr. Donald just also highlighted on that, giving us some data in relation to students who were not able to return, especially girls. From the NGO's perspective, I don't know, but what would you advise GES to do to help retain or bring back these girls to school?
Okay, thank you very much to everyone out there listening to this program. So I'm so happy that he has already given the statistics. They shared with us as well, actually, when we requested for the information. And currently, we are collaborating very well with the GES to work out to see how we can improve on our programs. Previously, we're doing a lot of things in isolations. But I think we cannot do that, just as I mentioned last week, that COVID is not just for the rich, it's not for the poor, and it's not for any middle income person. I think it's for all of us to deal with it. We can't leave everything in the hands of GES to say we should do that. And so, with the steps taken, I think it's just in the right direction. Sometimes I ask myself the question about how many people have the information. And I think that has been our major challenge as institutions, because we know you cannot be broadcasting everything or every day. Like today, GES is doing this, tomorrow we are doing this. But I think that the people who reach out more to the citizens could be reached out. For instance, the CSOs, or the NGOs I'll mention. We are on the field, and most often we can reach out to as many people as possible. Not to say that we have the mandate. Ours is just to supplement GES to do that. And so we could reach out to many more because we have the resources. And also looking at the way we work with people, we could easily reach out to them. Already I mentioned last week that parents have the responsibility to do a lot. Not just, sometimes I ask myself, should government give nose masks? Then I just think that at some point we need to own the process and say that I need to do 1, 2, 3, whilst government does 1, 2, 3. Of course, it's our support. I just pray that one day it becomes a very compulsory, that no child is going to sit at home. And if a parent leaves a child at home, you will be in trouble for that. That is my wish for one day for it to happen. And so it brings us back to how things should be as we move on. Also to remind us that last week we talked about the rural areas. And definitely there's nothing we would do without leaving them behind. When I say without leaving them, because we will reach them late. And that is one thing that happens. Just as he mentioned, we'll concentrate on the epicenters. And then we come back to the big, larger communities or regions or whatever, urban areas. Then before we get to the rural folks, the story will be a very small one. And so I asked myself, what should we do strategically as collaborating partners to ensure that we reach out to everyone within the same period with information? And I think that is something that we need to work very much on as we move on. Because for COVID, it doesn't do rural or urban. Somebody can just carry it to the community and everybody or many people can get infected. And so that is one thing that I think that we need to work on faster as we have planned. Because putting the plans and not acting in time is also another issue.
Okay.
And so that is one thing that I would just want to also bring on board for our discussion to see. I think I have much concern about the rural folks because a lot of them, we say ignorant, but I think that most often they put the caveat on the poverty, which I feel that we are not that poor. And so we only need to re-strategize and prioritize. Because if we prioritize the things that we want to do, I think we will do better.
Okay.
And education will not actually, I think education is currently last on our list as in priority. And which for me is not good. we need to refocus on how we want our children to grow in terms of the systems that we are putting in place at the Ghana Education Service.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
I just want to add to what Nadia has said. You know, we've been collaborating a lot. We've been doing a lot, and I think I can say that in the scale, especially we have over 200 NGOs in the northern region working in education, and our collaboration with NOSAC has been phenomenal over the years, and they don't do anything in education because you see sometimes they even come in to do things to duplicate what others have done. Even in the past, I have had a course to prepare a proposal to get funds to bring NGOs in the region together so as to synchronize and harmonize, synergize their activities so that we will know that there will be impact when we implement it. First of all, let me also thank Right to Play. Okay. About 2 weeks ago, Right to Play donated PPEs worth 400,000 Ghana cedis to districts, Savilico, Kumbung, and Tolon districts. So you see, some NGOs are there, they only complain and the rest. Others are taking action. I just collaborating with, I think Anthony at NOSA. They are taking statistics of the records of absentee or other factors related to the COVID or as a result of the COVID or the closure of schools on the second years who came to write, so that they could solicit for funds, so that they will support government. You know, government cannot do it all. So, and we hope that a lot other partners should come in and support. I was just, the last time I had the day of International Day for for the education, I was on an interview at the Savannah Signatures. And then they're saying that even as parents, as I sit here, my children, when they were going to school, I had to get nose masks for their teachers too. And some, you understand, it's just what happens to our family system. Then we don't, when it comes to funerals, our people don't complain about poverty. When we come to excess, marriages, they don't complain. You need to go. I'm coming from, my village is closer to Upper East region. You go for a funeral and they are wasting food.
Okay.
I get it. So it's certain priorities, as Hajia said.
Okay. But Pierre, I want to also know, we have not gotten there yet, like you said, but you have already done something to support, and others have also done something. But I think it's also your responsibility to also, check to ensure that they actually adhere to the safety protocols. So what measures or mechanisms have you put in place to monitor this, to monitor or check to ensure that the COVID protocols are observed?
Yeah, we know that as students were coming back wholesale, we will have challenges, especially these are small children, especially the lower primary level. I get in it. Some of them will not even think. We were even thinking, some were contemplating that some children could even be sharing nose masks and the rest. But you know, they are learning, they are there to learn. I get in it. So the teachers are giving them all the necessary instructions. Then we have thermometer guns in the schools, at the gates. I know the primary schools is difficult because there's no one entry point. It's the senior high schools that may have gate and the rest. But they take temperature daily. And GES have also instructed or directed that any student who is unwell or any teacher who is unwell should not turn up, should not come to school. Then we are looking at overcrowding, and we have told them that districts should use, directors and their schools should use their discretion, especially we know schools that are on the school feeding program. Most children like to go there, so there is the population's enrollment there are high. So can we be looking at other spaces, like in the community when there is a church? If there is a church, are you getting it, closer to the school? Come on, some of the children could be split to go there. If there is a mosque, we can do that. It's okay. And then we are also saying that the worst of it, if you don't find the space to accommodate, split them, then you can consider the shift. Even though shift we're abolishing it. So these are some of the things. But we have already talked about hand washing. We have talked about wearing of nose mask. These are all things that are meant to prevent the children from. But GES have also issued instructions on how to manage the schools, so that first, one of the examples is shortening of the time. They don't stay in the school for long, especially the primary school. It's 9 to 12 o'clock, then they close. It's okay. So these are some of the things that, but there is I should say a detailed guideline that has been issued by the Director General to schools on how to handle it. It's challenging, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Okay, thank you very much. It's still the Activate program right here on Diamond Pacific FM. We continue our discussion on International Day of Education that goes with the theme recovering and revitalizing education in the current generation or for the coming generation. Later in the discussion, it's actually 17, I'll give you the chance so you can call us. We have the regional PRO, Uganda Education Service. If you have any questions for him, we also have Hafsa Seisman, Head of Programs, Policy and Campaigns, NOSAC. If you have any questions for them in relation to education during this period, you can ask. If you also have any contributions. So I mentioned the call line, but I'll be opening it at exactly 7:20. That's exactly 7:20. You can call us to 037 202 2261. 037 202 2261. 037 202 2261. Just also to remind you that we are live on Facebook on the Activate page. Take your phone, type go to Facebook and type Activate. You'll find us there. Yes. Thank you. So Aja, since last week, Aja has been expressing great concern for students in rural communities. I think Aja has really great passion for what's happening with the students there. Before I come to Mr. Donald to find out what special support they have for these students, I want to know from you, this is so much interested in that, what you think can be done by the GES to actually help these kids.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'm just happy to hear that the Back to School campaign has already started at the rural communities as well. I mean, in the communities. I just want to urge that they involve more people in this process so that we can have a wider coverage instead of saying we have done 2 schools or because we didn't have resources, we couldn't go meet anybody. And this is not the time for people to say we are coming for a meeting for TNT. This is not the time for that, and this is not the time to say that people should give me water for the meeting. I think because we all want to support the process, we try to even shorten the meetings that we have. And so even doing community meetings should just be within 1 and 2 hours. And you just give the information and then you are gone. I think GES can do more in terms of creating more spaces for people to have information.
Okay.
And for me, a lot can be done through these radio discussions.
Okay.
It can be done in the local languages for many others to listen, because we also have our population more on illiteracy levels in this part of the country. And so when we speak English, we are also cutting off a lot of people. So many people would have been by their sets listening, but sometimes they ask themselves, that's GES. You know, GES, they are just English people, you know, those things.
Yeah.
But if we try to also localize it for the people, it helps in terms of the information.
Yeah.
For all you know, many of the people don't even know what GES is doing in terms of this COVID. And so they will just hear the paraphrasing messages, which for me does not complete the actions of GES when we talk about that. So on that, we can enhance the communication to the communities through these mediums. The other part can be just as I already mentioned, collaborating more with the NGOs to disseminate information. Sometimes you can even make it a mandate to say that, now, sir, you are in Tolan district. Can you add this to your community sensitization? As GES we want to collaborate. You see, these are some of the, for me, sometimes I feel bad when we have to go to GES. You know, they have to also reach out to us so that it looks like, yeah, it's not just that you need us, and it's not just that you want to spend money, but it's because we are collaborating. So when we see GES coming to us for discussion on programs and all that, we feel great and we feel happy about that. And so I would recommend that we continue that aspect. You reach out to more. And I just want to also say that the current director has a big energy there, and we hope that he continues with that to engage more stakeholders to come on board. One other aspect I want to recommend is our setup of our schools. I think because of our season, would I say weather? Because I think because of wind and all that, mostly they don't want to put more ventilated classrooms, so that it cannot easily get off. But I think this is another time that we need to refocus and think again about how we build our schools, because with the current setup of the public schools, I think it's a big difficulty. That is why they are struggling with the numbers. If we have more of the open space ones, you realize that even if you have a crowd, I mean, it may still be better than to have this enclosed classroom that we currently have. Yeah. So that is one thing that in our next plans of building schools, can we look at them in this way? I know they all have advantages and disadvantages, but I think that is another thing that GES has to look at. I know that GES doesn't build schools, but this is a recommendation GES can give. It's part of the challenges you have to record. So that it's like, yes, the district assembly is going to give us a 3 classroom, but please, can't you make it this way? And I think they have started building bigger classrooms instead of the older ones that we have. But again, we need to look at the ventilation. Just because we have had this virus, it may not be the first and last virus. There may be other viruses coming, which needs more ventilated areas. So for me, I think GES can recommend that to the assemblies and to government for that to happen. The last I want to add is that, you see, education is a right for everyone, and it means that it's not voluntary. It must be compulsory for everyone. You know, when we say the right, that it means that when government is providing that, everybody has to. Yeah. We need to let citizens know that it is also compulsory in one way or the other for certain stages. You know, when I say certain stages, we all need to be in school somehow. But you cannot choose to say that because I don't have money, I will leave my child to sit at home and go to farm. What is the alternative for going to farm? So for me, I think GES need to do another level of consultation with stakeholders. And I will re-emphasize that we started something that I think that GES still continues with that. The education sector review meetings, I mean, the quarterly or it can be biannual. biannual one, the districts can do quarterly. Once stakeholders hear the action plans of GES, I think they will develop some interest in it. So for me, I think these are some of the things that they can do. Just as I mentioned, we are to complement the work of GES, not to actually take over. And we are not the mandated institution to do those ones. We only come in to look at the gaps that they have, and then we fill that. And that is the other thing that I just want to add.
Wow, thank you very much. That was very, very insightful. I could see Mr. Donald nodding to that, and I hope GES will really consider these recommendations to ensure that life gets better for everyone, especially the group that Hajia is so passionate about.
You know, Hajia has been in education. You know, I told you we are both teachers, so what Hajia said is just up. It is just in the right direction, but you know, she has added that it is not our role, but we can always advocate for some of these. Especially what we even want to add is changing rooms for girls, because research has shown that girls absent themselves 5 days every month due as a result of menstruation.
Okay.
So we are advocating that they should add changing rooms for girls in especially the upper primary and the junior high schools. Then we are even looking at even if there's a need for washrooms and things, I get in, so that the children will feel comfortable. So this is an advice that is something we can all advocate about, because when it comes to building of classrooms and provision of infrastructure, it is not a direct function of GES, but we have taken it. And you know, I have told you that we have collaborated very well with NOSA, and sometimes the support that they give is so overwhelming, and we just can encourage other NGOs in the region. You see, Rana, funny enough, we have so many NGOs in our region, but when it comes to BEC resource, WASI resource, we are always last. You understand? Sometimes my former director, Alaji Cambodia, if he's happened to be listening, then I say good evening to him. He said he will never hide that. Sometimes he feels embarrassed. But that is where we all need to come. But you can't blame it on one person. We all have to play our roles well. But you see, sometimes the NGOs even then feel that their donors will even find. So if we are supporting with all these resources and there is no resource, then why do we continue to? So, and it is a role, the role of all stakeholders to come together so that we see how these our children can always excel, so that we get results. And then we are always ready. Fortunately, I am in charge of NGOs in the region, apart from being the regional PRO.
Okay.
I am in charge of coordinating NGOs and partners activities in the region. And then I will just GES will just be willing and ready to cooperate with NGOs and partners who are ready.
But my question was that what special support, especially during this time?
Yeah, you know,
aside the recommendations that Hajia has given, is there any special support GES is giving to these?
Yes, you know, the rural communities or rural folks, especially children, our focus is on girls. And then talking about this advocacy, first of all, we had to look at how safe the schools were, because we said schools should be closed down. And at the time, we only recorded 2 cases. And we closed down schools. Unfortunately, the cases are not going down, but schools are. So people were somebody could just say that I won't send my child to school. I won't risk to send my child to school. So we have to look at issue of safety then that was where the disinfection came in. I get it. Then the supply of the PPEs came in. Then the advocacy also included re-entry for girls. The advocacy, which was a multi-sectorial program that included chiefs, House of Chiefs, Queen Mothers, even market women. We looked at the unions, we looked at so many other community-based organizations and brought them together. And then we were looking that when the girls come back to school or they are put in a family way, they can come to school until when they are about to give birth, they could go back and give birth. And those others too who have given birth and they can win the children, they can give the children to their mothers and come. I was telling somebody that if you are a girl and you don't feel shy to do it, I getting it, and become pregnant, you shouldn't feel shy to bring the pregnancy to school, because you should know that your education is your future.
But if the person was raped?
If the person was, that's a pure criminal matter. Yeah. Are you getting it? If the person was raped, even the pregnancy can be terminated by law, because it wasn't intended, and it should be a criminal matter, and the perpetrator should be dealt with. But how many of them will you have that case? I don't know. Some of them, their parents endorse it. Even some have been given out to marriage. I was just going through an article written by a professor at Cambridge University, and he says that in sub-Saharan Africa, they do all these things with somehow the tacit support or subtle support of their parents. Because if you have your child, you should be interested in their education. So
they must really think about these things very well. And then see to it that probably when they give birth and then win off the children and maybe 1 year, they can come back. But coming to full pregnancy, it cannot be true. Some of them will not come. That is what the thing I have. Rama, thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Adam, thank you very much.
Rama, thanks to Adam that I called him twice last week and he didn't pick. I don't know. So he should call me after 8 o'clock. I miss him.
I think he can hear
that's
you.
my brother. Adam's Anola. In fact,
he said a lot.
He said a lot, yes. Mother Adams, yes. Decentralization. Okay.
Hello.
Let me write it down.
Hello. 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 Yeah, please, your name where you're from. Richard, you're welcome to the program. What do you have to add?
Just as the earlier caller said, there is some amount of disconnect between those of us on the ground and our leaders. In most instances, they sit in the luxury of their offices and talk about things that are not actually happening on the ground. If you come to many of the schools now, you will even realize that teachers themselves don't even obey these COVID-19 safety protocols. How much more the students? They are the role models, and they are expected to strictly obey these safety protocols in order to be able to instill that discipline in the students as well. So I want to make a passionate appeal that whenever they take decisions, those decisions shouldn't just remain in the confines of their offices, but they should make sure they follow and really monitor what is happening on the ground, so that when they are reporting, it is actually facts on the ground they are talking about and not imaginations.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard from Chebu. I'm really very grateful. That we should stop the sweet talks and take action. Thank you very much. Without Donald, you wanted to respond?
Yeah, I wanted to react to my brother Adams.
But you can also still call us. A call on 037-202-3261, 037-202-3261, or send me a text message to 024-2691-461, 024-2691-461. Just also reminding you that we are live on Facebook. You can find us on the Activate page. If there are also any questions, if you're watching us live, just leave them there. We will read them later. But the call line remains 037-202-3261. 037-202-3261. Okay. Mr. Donald.
Yes. I just want to.
Hello.
My brother Richard. Okay.
Hello. 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 Yeah, good evening. Please, your name, where are you joining us from? This is.
I'm okay.
Miss Hamza, welcome to the program. What do you have to add? You're welcome to the program. What do you have to add? Hello, Mr. Hamza. Can you hear me, please? Yeah, you can go on. We can hear you.
This topic you are discussing today is very important, especially to every parent. The school has been closed for almost 10 months and no academic lessons, especially in the classroom and other stuff. It's really worrying, but a lot of during this time, a lot of parents were pushing for government to reopen schools amid this pandemic. But it looked like we were defeating this virus in Ghana. Somehow, looking at the trajectory, it looked like somehow we were defeating it. We're like doing well in managing this. But due to these political activities, it looked like things did not work out. I don't mean to question the reason for reopening of schools, but I think government did not do well at all. To me, with the greatest respect, I stand to be corrected though. It looked like because there was not enough consultation and preparation ahead of that. Because it looked like most of the schools do not have the required PPE. And if it was parents who were supposed to get it for their children, I think it should have been communicated to parents so that parents can prepare their children very well to go to school.
Okay.
I'm looking at how things are going. I'm afraid that the virus might find its way into our schools. It might find its way into the campuses, and that would be very difficult for the health and the mental well-being of our children. That is what I am so much concerned of. So this is something I think civil society should take it up. And let's see how we can push this up. This is a very serious thing. Let's see how we can push it up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hamza. Very good point there.
Okay, so
Yes,
Mr. Adams was talking about decentralization. It's good, but that is not within our domain.
Okay.
Maybe as well, maybe we can give that information going forward. If schools are not closed and in future, we can also look at that. So the directorate will take note of it, and I'll discuss with the management meeting. He'll suggest to them. Then Richard from Chogo was saying there's a disconnect, and even added that teachers were even rather disobeying the protocol. So
but we are doing too much of the sweet talking than taking action.
Yeah, he was saying that, but he added that teachers are not. You understand? Because I was just wondering why but he ended up saying that teachers themselves are disobeying. So it's an attitudinal problem, and I know every now and then the president complain about it, and we leave not wearing the nose mask. Because if children are not wearing nose mask because their parents are not able to buy for them, how about the teacher? Are you getting it? So we need to observe that. You see, some of us just think that the disease is far away from us. Complacency.
Okay.
So let's use this medium to encourage. You can never know. So let's ensure that we are able to
Okay.
And then,
Mr. Adam made a point in his submission talking about the new curriculum.
yeah, the new curriculum. I think you are also interested
Yeah.
in it.
I was yet to
Yeah,
talk about that. Yeah.
Yes.
And he talked about, generally every year, I think you mentioned it earlier, the performance is always very poor. I don't know if GES have had any regional annual review meetings on this particular issue, because I mean, in everything, all the efforts that we are taking, like you said, NGOs are investing money, and at the end, they still realize that the outcome is poor. It's the, I mean, that's the key thing we are looking at to ensure that at the end, the students do well. So since it's not happening, I don't know if you've had any
at the regional level,
on the performance of students in the region.
At the regional level, for a while now, we are not able to do review. And
but have you done it in the past?
Yes, we used to do it in the past, but for some time now, nationwide, and usually it used to be supported by UNICEF, sometimes through government funding, but I think nationally, what they do is Education Week, where stakeholders are. So it is done at the national level.
And
but
from the beginning, I hear NGOs. Are there any other stakeholders, especially youth? Do you work with young people, or the key stakeholders that you can work with are just NGOs?
No, we are saying that in the school setup, we have several stakeholders.
Okay.
We have even the village chief who gave the land out for the school to rebuild. Is a stakeholder. The women, the mothers, fathers are all stakeholders. The assemblyman, the assemblywoman, the magazine, the pastors, they have schools, and then they are stakeholders.
But how is your work with young people?
Yeah, the young people, they are the ones that we are dealing with, because we have a mandate to educate the young people. That is what we are doing. But organize young people, maybe they have to come to us, because our role is to ensure that we educate the young people, and that is why we are here. It's okay.
I mean, I'm not talking about they receiving education, but you are delivering education. I mean, in the region. How are you involving them in that particular process?
Rahama, you came to my office and we discussed that you needed me here. It's okay. Yeah. So if any group, you understand, our doors are open.
Okay.
If any group, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be at the regional office. The district offices are there. It's okay. Last year fell. Youth Employment for Life. And Youth Empowerment for Life. You understand? Organized a forum and invited our regional exam officer to give them an outlook of our education performances.
Okay.
He gave them he did the presentation, and at the end of the day, questions were not asked because he had even given them the reasons, the causes of where we find ourselves. So we are ready anytime any youth group comes in. But our duty is to ensure we are not at the regional office. Our mandate is to coordinate educational activities in the district. It's okay, in collaborating with stakeholders. Now, at the district level, most of the youth groups even find themselves there because the schools are in the districts. It's okay. So we expect that most of the youth group should even focus on where they even come from. What interests have they shown on the schools that they have come from? Okay. You understand? So it is not that we are micromanaging the districts. We expect that the youth groups move to the communities, move to the district, and then see how they can also offer support. It is not all about our regional education office. For us, we don't even have schools. We coordinate the activities of the schools in the districts. So there is a big room for any other stakeholder who want to support GES to come in. It's okay. But this issue of stakeholder forum and the rest, what happened at the school level is what we call spam. every year the school have to meet, even if it is a basic school, even if it's a primary school. They take the children's performance, children's attendance, then the head teacher call the PTA, then they let them know what the school have been able to do, then what are the problems of the school, and how are they going to. It is based on that even school SPIP is prepared, school performance improvement plan, that I prepared, so that you will not take it to the districts, and then when funds are released, then you know where to do. So that sometimes when the SPIP is a budget for the school, so that if you go back to your primary school and say, oh, I have 1,000 Ghana for this school, the head teacher should be able to take the SPIP and say, this is one of our urgent priorities that we want to do. So the fact that we don't do the review in the region at the regional level doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It happens in different forms.
Okay.
Then you also have district wide spam. They do appraisals. And even in the senior high schools, you can also do that. Call the parents, let them know. Last year, this number of children got A1 in English. We expect that next year we should get this. This what are we supposed to do? Everybody will know their role. So it's happening. It's okay. I'm sure as a result of dwindling of funds, that is why the regional one has been suspended. But there is always a week-long program in Accra where NGOs and NED, Northern Network for Educational Development, that coordinate most of the times issues of education, NGOs working in education. It's always involved. I get it. So this is where we are.
Okay, thank you very much for the information, Mr. Donald, PRO, Northern Region, Ghana Education Service. Aja, Ms. Hamza made a point. I think in relation to.
So, I want to just answer the direct. I have to say some hard truths around here. That I think that we are all running away from a certain truth. You see, we all know decentralization is the biggest problem in this country. But nobody would complain about it when they have to. And for me, that is the problem I have with most of the state institutions. They are facing the problem or challenge. But when they get up there, they will not complain. And so it becomes a very big difficult for all of us to work around that. You see, I don't see why I would be a regional director and cannot take certain decisions. When I say certain decision, I mean in terms of procuring things and all that. You see, and this is why we talk about this. And that is why many people feel that there's corruption everywhere. I mean, mostly at the top there. Because why would you want to procure something in Accra when you can get it here? Sometimes that we don't get it. But you see, GS at the regional level will not even complain. Even when they complain, to be at their office. With their PROs, the director will talk with the PR. You see, they are those things. But when he goes to Accra, he will not talk. Because everybody wants to save their head, right? So we all as citizens, it's just our right to do those things and ensure that if we all come out to advocate for that, it's going to happen. GES may not be able to do it because they have that direct link. But if citizens see it as a big problem, why don't we all gather around that? We all have to come around that. And that is where we need the activism. When we start doing this activism around those things, in fact, they will respond. So for me, this is the time for all of us to wake up. If we think that decentralization is a major problem, let's fight that. Let's ensure that it happens. So for me, I think that is the response to Adam. I think that we are all hiding the truth, and we need to. For attitude, I don't even want to talk about it because you see, I just hope that something changes somehow within us, because if we don't change ourselves, there's nothing we can do to change somebody. So if as a teacher you go to school without wearing mask, How can you tell a student to wear mask? I mean, it doesn't, your conscience will not even allow you to say it. Because you have to wear it before you are able to, hey, where is your nose mask, right? So, but the teacher, he or herself, is not even wearing. How do you tell a child to? You don't wash your hands with soap. The whole day, the child has not seen you wash hands. And you want the child to wash their hands. So for me, I think those aspects we need to deal with within us and ensure that it happens. There's one thing I want GES to also, you see, when we talk about monitoring, it's not just on a face value. And I don't want Donald to always put, you see, you have to tell us the truth, to give us the gap. Because for me, if you have not received PPEs and you say you have received, I think that you are not doing as good. I'm not saying it has not come. I'm just saying that you need to open up to say that, well, we think this is the reality here. We have received them, but it's difficult for us to even distribute to the district because 1, 2, 3 is happening, you know. But nobody wants to even say that somebody is not performing. It's not working. And for me, that is not what we need as a country. As a country, we need to open up to talk more about the things that are supposed to be done, the things that we have done. Yes, that's okay. People will even see it. It's not you who is going to say that. If you have distributed PPEs, everybody has it. My children came home with sanitizer. I saw them. So these are things that has happened. But face masks have not been given. That means that it has not reached them. So if some parents are saying that they have not received, I don't think that we should say, well, they are not telling the truth, is there and all that. There could be modalities and the protocols that would ensure that they get to them. But maybe it's delaying. Why is it delaying? Some schools have not received. Why have they not received? These are the things. So for me, we all need to monitor somehow. So you see, when we talk about the youth, you need to bring in this angle. We all need to have interest in everything that happens within us. I don't think that GES would sack somebody when you go to the school. Oh, okay, today I'm visiting to see how the children are faring as COVID has come up. You know, if you're already collaborating, there's no way they will say that don't do it. I was thinking that you would have mentioned we're trying to revive the regional review meetings. You know, we started something like that with the RCC coming on board. And we went through a whole lot of processes, you know. We know, yes, some funding could be challenging, but you know, we need to start somewhere. We cannot bring everybody on board, but we need to start somewhere. And for us, that is what we've been telling most of the stakeholders. You see, we need to commit to some level. If GES come to half and the other stakeholders come to half, why not? We can do it. So I think RCC even started engaging the district assemblies to look at how they can support this process. And for me, it has gone far. We just need the action to happen. And now that we are changing ministers, we are changing DCs and all that. So, you see, that is the other challenge we would have. And so, if we didn't document it at our levels, I mean, not at NORSAC, if GES didn't document, because we have a new director, though he came in whilst we were doing that, he continued. But if RCC, they didn't document, is it our fault? If Sanargo, this municipal assembly did not record, and there's a new MCE, it's a trouble. If Karaga did not, because these two districts were supposed to pilot that for all of us to go through. And so for me, we have gone far with those who are bringing on board the review meetings. And we have even brought in some of the youth networks. So like the regional youth network, the regional youth parliament, they are all part of the process. It's just to see how we can enhance this process. And let's remove the fear of somebody is going to police us. No. We want, you see, when I go somewhere and they say Northern region is behind, it pains me. So I don't want to even hear it. So as Hafsa, what can I do? And these are the things that we should all be bringing on board to see how we can all support in our way. I mentioned that, you see, whatever happens in Accra, by the time it reaches here, it's another angle of it. And our altitude will even compound the situation. So for me, so we need to start looking at strategic I mean, we have to look at other strategies to ensure that alternative measures are taken so that we don't leave our issues behind.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 2 stories just to mention. You see, a woman just told me last week. I asked about the daughter. I said, we have removed her from school. And I said, what? Why? I don't think that we can take care of her.
Wow.
You know, and she was just bold to tell me that. And I said, I laughed. And then I left her, and later on I engaged her again to say that, do you know that what you have said, I can let social welfare come to your house to even interrogate you because of what you have said. That child is just 11 years. And you have taken the child from school. For what reason? What is she going to do in Accra? No, I'm just asking those questions. So, and when I mentioned that I can let social welfare come to interrogate, and she was like, oh, really? So she promised to bring the girl back back to Tamale. But these are things that many are happening. Just this afternoon, I received an information of a 50-year-old girl, a 50-year-old man marrying a less than 18-year-old. They've taken that girl from school, and the teacher has complained.
In Tamale?
I mean, I don't want to, maybe we are here to go into it, so I don't want to even mention the location. But you see, that is just this afternoon. So I was doing something, and I'm here to engage my office on that. This is just weird. 50 years, less than 18. How does this match? How can it match? You know, so sometimes I don't know why we will put, and even this person is an opinion leader. Yes. So for me, I think that we need to be bold enough to take certain things up. Let's not shy. These institutions don't need to say that because this person is a chief and has violated this, I cannot do this. And this is what we do, and we leave all the children in school pregnant. Why would they come back to school? They won't come because nobody would want to come. Many of them are not that confident to come with pregnancy. Even you as a teacher who becomes pregnant and you are in school, how do you feel? I mean, I'm just mentioning this just for all of us to feel like there are certain things that will happen to you that you don't even want many people to know. So it's not just on a face value we should say that children, when they are pregnant, they should go back to school. There are challenges. We need to talk about them. We need to engage more to say that even the pregnancy should not happen. And for us, that is why we are talking about sexuality education. Yeah. They shouldn't just come. And already they are active. Whether we like it or not, they have sex. Whether we like it or not, they have sexual intercourse. And so we only need to give them the information to be able to come there. To be able to prevent that pregnancy so that we don't have the girls dropping. And if we leave the boys to go to school, there's no even other alternative for them. It's just some kind of discrimination. So if a boy and a girl have sex and the girl becomes pregnant, they all go to school, but nobody mocks the boy. Yeah. At some point, even many people don't even know that it's the boy who impregnated her. Yeah. And so for me, this is not a good practice. That we need to look at all this. Okay. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Thank you very much, Hadia Hafsa Sumani. It's still the Activate program right here on the NHBC FM. It's almost time, but I think I'll pick one more last call. So if you call me now, I'll pick. The call is 037-202-3261, 037-202-3261, 037-202-3261. It's getting interesting. I just mentioned something about discrimination. And since we have Mr. Donald here, it's been something I wanted to say. I just say and I ask you, and then we can end after that. In relation to leadership at the basic and senior high school levels, I don't know if you're aware that females are not allowed to be senior prefects, which is the highest
females
level.
Don't.
Level of leadership at those particular levels. Are you aware?
I don't know. I can't say I'm aware, but then it's an issue. I think some of these are coming from our background, cultural and socio-cultural background.
Is it written that they cannot?
No. It is not written.
I think Aja was saying something that they don't.
Yes.
Aja,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
I said they don't.
Okay.
When I said they don't, means that it's not like somebody is preventing them.
Yeah,
They don't come out. And that I think that you should slate it for another day for discussion because
It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot.
It's a whole lot of issues.
I have
Yeah.
a call. I have a call. Yeah. Hello. Okay, please call us back. The call line is 037-202-3261. 037-202-3261. Aja, they don't come up.
Let me respond.
Some schools do not allow it at all. I've had that experience before.
Okay.
Yeah, in my school. So
But
some
it is
schools-
not sanctioned by GES.
Okay.
That no, a girl shouldn't be a prefect.
So if you want
it
to
was-
and you are not allowed, can you challenge that?
Yes,
Okay.
you can. But what we are actually saying is that it is based, based on our socio-cultural background. Some of the girls, they will even say, you are daring, you are coming, look at her, she doesn't always sorba. You get it? Eh? Always you understand?
Let me read the message.
Now there has been some advocacy which was championed by NOSA, and we're yielding a lot of successes, even though at the point, because of this break, a lot of things do. But we had schools, senior high schools, where general prefect was a girl, and they excel. You understand? This is our, should I say, some kind of bias or some stereotype and thing. You understand? But then, if a girl comes out and does well, yes, we know the general prefect was always a man. They were just ordinary norms. Nobody said that. Nobody sanctioned. Nobody wrote it down or gave us an instruction. No. The schools start. So we're looking at, as I said, NOSA collaborated with GS, and we did a lot of work on the structure, the leadership structure of the. That's why I get saying that it needs another time for us to discuss that.
So that people are aware.
Yes. So because the challenge is that it has relapsed. Let me confess. There's been a relapse because it looked like most of the schools that were actually working hard to ensure that we had general professorship and the things that could be occupied by a female or a male competitively. It's just like in Ghana, we have not had a female president.
Okay.
Are we saying that it is written that no, a female shouldn't be a president? I get it. So that is not the
Okay,
case.
like I just said, I think this is a very broad thing, and we'll schedule to have that discussion later. But I have a text message here I want to read that says that, in my own opinion, GES has no issue with decentralization. The districts and regional officers have the capacity to do everything. Their problem is with recruiting competent staff at the districts and regional directorates who are up to the task. No proper worker evaluation, no modalities for recruitment into administrative officers, no directorate staff monitoring, no nothing. It is very appalling. So this is from Ishmael Ibrahim. Ishmael, thank you for the text. I can see Ajia has so much to say in relation to this, but unfortunately it is time. The next program has to commence, so I will come to you and take your last words in relation to what we just discussed. So I'll come to you, Mr. Donald.
Well, thank you. I think it's been interesting. It's been insightful.
Briefly, so
I am always available, and even if you have issues that I feel they will have, because we have other schedule officers who can also come in. So at any time when you invite us, we are just pleading and then urging parents that they should ensure that the children get back to school, and then we should always ensure that there's behavior change. The teachers alone cannot handle the children. They should always support the parents and bring the children to school with masks. But I know the masks have arrived. As at Friday, they couldn't have distributed the masks. You know, Ajia was speaking, and because it's on radio.
End it that way.
Yeah.
yeah, there's no
No,
time.
I don't want to end it that way because you made it look like things are not given, and I'm coming to say that they are giving. So we are the PPEs in order, especially the nose mask, will be distributed tomorrow onwards, and I'm sure public schools
tomorrow. Okay.
So based on that, so I'm just going to end my statement based on that.
Okay.
So based on that, we should all get involved. We monitor the process and ensure that we follow whatever happens. We are not saying no people should go and challenge ES, but I think that we need to bring the issues up. If we have any support, that is what we have to do. Again, COVID is real. All of us need to protect ourselves, and I just want to urge the youth, please get involved. Nobody will look for you there. You have to look for the key stakeholders and engage them. It is just your right to do that. Thank you.
We are all involved in building our motherland. Adja has ended it on that note, just reminding you that you need to get yourself involved. We can't do it if we are all not involved. It requires a collaborative effort that requires that you should be part. So once again, in terms of the activity program, we continue the discussion on International Day of Education on the theme recovering and revitalizing education in the for COVID generation, the COVID generation. My name is Activity Sarah Hama. The program was the Activity. I'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you very much for listening.
Bye.